So recently I joined my brother Chris from Tate's Take to recap the final week of Love is Blind UK Season 2, and a lot of you said some really kind things. Some of you were saying things like, "This is the most annoying person I've ever met." Well, I guess after hearing that feedback for today's reunion, I thought that maybe I'll just stay the same. Y'all silly. I'm not going to change. No, I'm staying me. If you don't like that, you can be like Kal and leave. But for today, we're going to get into my recap and review for the reunion episode, which was an hour long and full of drama. Like, a lot of drama. What's going on, you guys? James here with another real recap and review for, that's right, the reunion episode for Season 2 of Love is Blind UK. I'm really excited to get into this because there were a lot of things that happened that I did not expect to happen, and some that were kind of predictable. Okay, actually, never mind, I take it back. None of this was predictable. But like I mentioned earlier, this is an hour-long episode hosted by Matt and Emma Willis, and let me tell y'all, Lachey's, Nick and Vanessa. For October, I hope y'all were taking notes because the next Love is Blind US season this year needs to have a sense of consistency like the hosting that we got from this season of Love is Blind UK. But I digress. We're all about today talking about our couples. What are we getting into? The check-ins. Listen, I stayed up late watching this, but it was so late that I was falling asleep on the couch at the end, like at the very end, like when the credits were rolling. So I knew I couldn't record my recap. So thank you for staying patient. And if you haven't already and you're finding yourself here for the very first time, welcome to Real James, where I love talking about movies, TV, and all the news in between. So if you do too, hit the big red button below, subscribe to the channel, especially because we only have a month off, and then we're getting back into Love is Blind US in October, if I'm not mistaken. So you're going to want to stay tuned to the channel for that, because this is going to be a lot. And usually, yes, we do spoiler-free thoughts, but because this reunion was so juicy, we're getting right into the spoilers, so let's get started. The beginning already had me tripping out because not them having them walk into a photo booth. I know why they did that. They're playing to the social media frenzy about this photo booth. Did it have a curtain? Did it not? Who cares about the curtain? Because Javen and Sophie were in the photo booth, so it's disrespectful regardless. But I know Javen's sick. Yeah, Javen is definitely sick. Well, the cast walks out after Matt and Emma Willis intro everything and say, "Welcome to the reunion." There's a mix of live audience members, family and friends, and past contestants, especially from Season 1. But everybody walks out. Some got a glow up, like Kieran. That man looks so different, but it's the Megan effect, I guess. So we begin with Kal and Sarover. There's footage of their married life together during the first year. They're traveling. And not just traveling, like traveling. Oh my goodness, they're going all these places. It looks cool. They're having a blast. Sarova's happy. Kal's happy. It is so great. It's a match made in... I'm not saying it. You know why? Because it ain't made in heaven. Because Kal is for the streets. Yep. They ask both of them, "So how's married life?" And Sarover says, "What married life?" When I tell you, I paused it with the quickness and I had to rewind because I couldn't believe what I was seeing and hearing. Mainly hearing, because if I just saw that, I wouldn't really pick up on it right away. The thing is, I was shocked. Apparently, Kal walked away after only 3 months? So they did all that traveling in 3 months? Yo, that's crazy. Man, their travel rewards cards must be going nuts. But Kal is who we thought he was. And I say that because of everything that happens after this moment. So on January 2nd, a day after the first day of the new year, if you're keeping track, Kal tells Sarover it's over. That was so dumb. But this guy, really? After everything? Apparently he told Sarover that there's no spark. They're different people. And then the third reason was because she's more emotional and affectionate than I am. But this is the guy who said yes at the altar and knew exactly what he was getting into. And you're going to tell me? You're going to tell me, Kal, that she just loves me too much. Sarover claims that Kal was actually being rude to her after she tried to figure out if their relationship and marriage can be fixed. So Kal is like, "Oi, from my point of view, let me tell you what happened." He said nothing went wrong and it's just that they're not right for each other. No, bro, something went wrong with you. So when they start talking about the disagreement they had, Kal, I guess he gets on the defensive really quickly, and he mentions that he booked a 5-star honeymoon on his own. Like that matters, dude. Who cares? He's pretentious, always showing his muscles, his abs and stuff like that, talking about his type and everything. We should have known. Some of you knew, but we should have known. When they asked Kal, why couldn't you make it work on the intimacy level? And Kal said, I just couldn't give her more intimacy because I felt that I gave you enough. Huh? I mean, clearly you didn't, because if you did, it probably would still be working right now. Kal seems like the one who's just shut himself off. And then they transition to the crowd because guess who's there? That's right. Sarova's mom, Bali. She doesn't have like the cool hat, but she's there and she ain't happy. Bali said, it's heartbreaking to see my daughter being led down a path that wasn't genuine. But then Kal disagrees. Now, how are you going to disagree with the mother of your bride at one point? Listen, Kal is so wrong here because he dumped her without any warning. You dumped Sarover without, it basically is a text message, basically, and just left her. But you know what? The whole time I was thinking, did Kal cheat and have an affair? Because if he did, for him, it would be easy to just walk away because he's got a little thing on the side. Keep Sophie away from him. Kal does take an ounce, a modicum of accountability and says, maybe I was a little cold towards Sarover. And I just knew at this point, man, Kal's brother must be justified. And then Matt and Emma Willis pan over to Kal's brother, who basically said, I told y'all. Like, I knew this man wasn't going to do it. Well, glad you're vindicated, sir. But the girls this entire time are just not happy with Kal. And Kal's being weird because he said he was in love with Sarover, so I really got to know what changed. But Sarova's ready to move on. You can tell she's already had time to think about this and said, you know, my person's out there somewhere. I'm good. I'm good off that. Goodbye, Kal. And I know somewhere, somehow, my bro Chris was smiling because now, you might as well be like Steph Curry, Chris, and shoot your shot. I don't know. I don't know. Okay, so now let's move on to our second couple that made it into the final four. That's Jed and Bardha, but they did not say I do. Remember, Bardha said, I vow to get with you when the time is right. And Jed was like, man. But Bardha said, listen, I stick by my decision when she was asked. And she said that Jed was showing signs of not being the husband that she needs. I just really believe both of them were not going to click. They weren't compatible. And Jed basically admits as such because he said, I was going to say I do at the altar, but I wasn't 100% certain. And apparently they did what every Love is Blind contestant does whenever they're coupled up and then they say no at the altar. They try to date and make it work outside of the show. But it didn't work for these two. Oh my gosh. Apparently they were still butting heads. I'm guessing they went out to eat and then they were like, no, I'm taking care of the bill. No, I am. No, I'm using my points at Chick-fil-A, which you should be using. But Bardha said the only person that tried after the show wasn't actually Jed. It was only me. And the only reason I do believe her is because of this story that she said afterwards. Apparently, Bardha kept the engagement ring on her finger to show him that she still wants to make it work. Yes, I'm going to be honest, that's a confusing sign, but maybe Jed liked it. Maybe Bardha was just really trying here, but she said she regrets it because they had an argument, like a huge argument at the gym. Apparently, Jed asked Bardha to remove it according to Bardha, and Bardha said, I won't do that. And that, well, you only asked because your ex-girlfriend was in the room. So they apparently went to the gym together, and Jed asked Bardha, can you at least, turn it around? Yeah, because guess what, Jed? No one's going to see it if it's turned around. What? But Bardha apparently did that or something like that. And the only reason Jed asked was because he didn't want his ex-girlfriend, who was at the gym, to make a scene. But that's very convenient timing, Jed, that your ex-girlfriend would be at the gym at the same exact time as your ex-fiancé. And to me, it sounds like Jed's trying to spin the block with his ex. Well, they dated for 3 weeks after the wedding, and Bardha said, I'm over it. So the gym debacle pretty much sealed it, and Bardha went to Dubai, and she said she's still there. Well, no, you're on the panel for the reunion, but she's still living there. So I'm gonna be honest. Maybe she found her prince. Isn't that what they have in Dubai? Like princes and princesses and stuff? But yeah. So when Matt and Emma Willis ask, is there any way for you both to find yourselves again and come back together? They both said, Well, I could have called that, you guys, because after that story, there is no way that they're coming back together. And they asked, and they did this often, by the way. Shout out to Matt and Emma Willis for doing this, but they asked the contestants, do you have any final words to say to each other? And Jed said, well, we're moving on. Bardha said, I'm indifferent, and I wish you all the best. Far away from me. She hates this man. So now we take a break from our season 2 contestants and check in on our season 1 contestants, Jasmine and Bobby and Benaya and Nicole. Benaya and Nicole are traveling a whole lot. They look cute together. And then you got Jasmine and Bobby, and they're expecting a baby, because I didn't watch season 1, but they look great. Were they like let me know in the comments, guys. Were they like the model couple in season 1? Because they look awesome. He's raving about her, making her cry, talking about how she's the best mom already and the greatest wife, and I'm thinking, you better honor your woman. Come on. No, but yeah, honoring your wife is so important, and he is doing that. Good for Bobby, and good for Jasmine, and good for Benaya and Nicole. So we go from a brief moment of levity and healthy relationships back to the toxicity. Let's get into Ashleigh and Billy. Where's my cake? So after Sarover and Kal, I thought, alrighty, hopefully the rest of the couples are married. Psych. They're also not married. Ashleigh and Billy are not together anymore. What is happening? This is crumbling as we speak. But Ashleigh said they went into date mode instead of married mode right after the altar. And Billy's like, yeah, actually, okay. Ashleigh claims that Billy didn't deliver on being a husband who would love her unconditionally, and Billy said, I did find myself disconnected. I mean, hey, you're taking more accountability than Kal, but Billy. Why did he say I do? Why? I just knew something was off with Billy, but he said, hey, we were adapting, and Ashleigh shook her head like, I don't believe this. Ashleigh mentions that during their first year after the show, Billy, well, he was acting cold, and my friends and family, that they could see that his body language was off. So I'm being honest with you guys. I do believe Ashleigh here, and I don't think Billy was ready. He should have said, I don't. Oh, yeah. So on January 1st, Billy and Ashleigh split. And then I thought, did him and Kal coordinate this for the new year? Because remember, Sarover says that Kal broke up with her on January 2nd. Billy broke up with Ashleigh on January 1st. And I'm glad Matt and Emma Willis are sharp to this, because they brought it up and said, hey, are y'all coordinating? We're not talking about the outfits. But we'll get to that in 2 seconds. Ashleigh did say, hey, I wish you said no, Billy. And Billy said, listen, I'm sorry, but it just didn't feel like he was really in it. His apology was a little shallow, but I gotta imagine the food store debacle was just the start of their incompatibility. And then Ashleigh's getting very worked up and upset at Billy, because Ashleigh's like, you had so much of an issue with my job, but I had no issue with your job. You go and get deployed for like 3 months, and I'm sitting here supporting you. I'm ready to be a military wife. And Billy's like, oh, good point, actually. Okay. Well, Billy does push back, to be honest. But yeah, Billy said, listen, I wasn't the only one that pulled away, bro. You pulled away too, Ashleigh. And Ashleigh heavy disagrees on that. But I'm going to be honest, I believe Ashleigh here. I don't think Ashleigh pulled away. It was Billy who pulled himself out of that marriage. So this is where Matt Willis asks if Billy and Kal confided in each other. And I know what he's getting at. This is good stuff. They both said, yes, we confide in one another, but they claimed they did not actually work together to break up with their significant others. And Ashleigh says, well, there was a similar script of messages. And Sarover was like, yeah, the language was pretty similar. So if this is true, and Kal and Billy sat down and they workshopped a breakup letter, text, or phone call, trash for the streets. Just find your way out to the left. And that's like the cabin crew thing. To your left, you'll find the streets where Kal and then Billy and Javen are. And Ashleigh ends this segment by saying, next time, I just want someone with a backbone. Dang, Ashleigh. Don't hold back and really tell us how you feel. So Ashleigh and Billy are not together anymore. Their marriage is off. Kal and Sarover, marriage is off. Jed and Bardha didn't have a chance. But then you got another couple who didn't have a chance, and that's Katisha and Javen. So let's check in with them. Katisha says that she still stands by her decision to choose Javen over Demela. And the thing is, that wasn't even the question. Emma Willis was asking more so in hindsight, do you still stand by your decision? And you know what? I get it. You don't want yourself to seem indecisive on national television. But Katisha, I don't believe that UK, US, or the world would blame you if you would have said in hindsight, I actually wish I would have picked Demela, because that was the right choice. Clearly. Demela's being uber respectful and says, listen, I still respect your decision. I'm happy for you. I hope you find love. And I know this whole time Katisha's thinking like, dang it, I messed up. Dang it, I messed up. But then they move on, and Matt Willis says there's been some speculation about Javen playing games during the season. You know, apparently on social media, people have been going in on him, saying he's using this for fame and stuff. And listen, he did comment on some videos and make his own YouTube channel. Just saying. But you know who he's not playing games for? Crystal Palace. Go Manchester United. Javen tries to be very nice to Katisha and says, you know, there's never a day that you can't call or text me. Child, please. There's no way she's going to text or call you because you did her so dirty on television and embarrassed her and her family, mind you. So, of course, they said, all right, well, if you want to go there, let's bring up some chats with Sophie that you had at the Pod Squad reunion and the after party stuff. Roll the clip. And they rolled that clip so fast and it was hilarious. But Katisha says watching that back really hurts her and she feels really embarrassed, of course. But Javen tries to justify his actions here. And when men do this, I gotta ask the men that do this, does it sound better in your head than when it comes out of your mouth? Because Javen saying, I'm just a jokey guy, we were just joking around, is so insensitive to your former partner, your fiance, who was basically in this with you 110%, and you're sitting here just joking around. Listen, if that's a joke, it ain't funny. But Javen does reveal that, yeah, I guess you can consider his actions flirty. I mean, duh. But Sophie is in the crowd. They pan over to her, and she says sorry to Katisha, and says it does look flirty, but it's jokey. You know what? Javen and Sophie are made for each other. They love jokes. They're so hilarious. Jokey, jokey, jokey. Please, give me a break. Sophie then, of course, comments on the whole photo booth thing and confirms Javen's side of the story, which is they were arguing in the photo booth, but I still don't believe it because who in their right mind goes to a photo booth to argue at a nightclub? Megan this entire time, though, looks like she's ready to pop off, maybe do a front flip and, like, kick somebody. But Javen says, listen, we were not flirting, and I'm confused. So Javen is saying, like, we weren't flirting in the photo booth, we weren't doing nothing, like, but you were just flirting in front of people, so what would you then be doing in private in the photo booth? I wonder. This man is caught in 4K, for sure. But the picture of the photo booth is shown because you remember Curtain Gate, whether it had a curtain or not. I mean, in my opinion, it doesn't matter, but it did not have a curtain. And I don't know, guys. Whether it has a curtain or not, you still went into a photo booth and embarrassed your fiance on national television with a woman who was clearly being flirty, in your words, with you at the Pod Squad party. So you know what? Save it. I don't want to hear it. Y'all were inappropriate, and I don't think you guys were arguing. They then ask Megan, do you stand by what you said in the argument? And she says every single word. And lastly, Katisha's like, hey, before we leave, did you even like me? And then Javen says, I enjoyed my time. That man did not like her in the slightest. Ah, boy. Yeah. To me, though, it did feel like they let Javen off a little easy. They should have maybe pressed him a little bit more. But, he did also talk himself into a hole. So, yeah. Javen, he's exactly who we thought he was. So then we transition to Matt and Emma Willis singing You're a Liar. And this was the only moment of the actual reunion where I was pretty annoyed. Because that moment was also kind of annoying to me. But Patrick isn't at the reunion. Aanu is. So they say, hi, Aanu, how are you? How you holding up? And she's like, I'm doing okay. And they ask about her experience. And she says, I do wish I kept other connections open. But, in her words, Patrick and I connected on faith. How? Is that in the room with us? Because you're a Christian and he's a spleenologist. So what's happening here? Like, no, there was no connection there. Because it wasn't an equally yoked relationship to begin with. So what's happening? Then they bring up Patrick's relationship status before the pods, and he wrote a letter that was too long for me to recite for you guys, but the main takeaway is he's becoming a father. He's stepping into fatherhood. So based on the timeline of it all, I'll let you guys marinate on that one. So now let's move in to the Megan and Kieran segment, because they're the only couple that is, surprise, still married. Glory to God, because I really like them together. Kieran clearly got a glow up. That man, I don't know what happened. He's not just a sports gaming entrepreneur. That man must be an on-camera talent now. Megan got him right. But the first year of marriage montage was really cute, and I got really nervous after they played it, though, because I thought they would come back and someone would say we're not together. But they are, thankfully. So Kieran says, can we take a moment to appreciate how good looking my wife is? And this man is gassing up Megan. But you know what? I think that's great. He should. That's like his boo. You know what I mean? It was just funny that during that moment they cut to Sophie in the crowd and her face was very much giving, I'm not happy for you both. Megan says that she's still obsessed with Kieran, so it sounds like, yeah, they're going steady. They're living together because they couldn't do the long distance thing, and Kieran apparently said, well, there's one thing I need to work on. And now I'm thinking, oh no, please, no drama. But it's just, he needs positive reinforcement to do chores around the house, which honestly Kieran is apparently working into. But bro, wash the dishes, do the laundry, fold the clothes, make the bed, like clean, vacuum, all that. I'm just listing everything that I love to do actually, but still, it shouldn't be bad, you know, do it. It's enjoyable. Trust me. But then they ask Sophie, which is weird, if she's okay with seeing them together. And Sophie said yes. That was the only thing I didn't like about this segment. They let Sophie maybe hijack it a little too much towards the end. And then they just go away from that moment and they say, let's roll credits. And I'm thinking, oh, shoot. Did an hour go by already? Because the pacing to this finale, or this reunion rather, was really good. So I enjoyed the reunion. And it is sad to hear that, of course, Jed and Bardha, not only did they not work out, but it got real nasty between them, it seems. Same with Kal and Sarover. They're not together anymore. Their marriage was called off. And Ashleigh and Billy, listen, Billy might as well just fly out of that vicinity of wherever Ashleigh is, because Ashleigh, listen, lasers were coming out of her eyes. She was not having it. So it was a whole lot of mess, but it was a good reunion. And you know what? I'm glad that they didn't try to fill it with dead air, essentially. It worked for me. So this season 2 reunion was exactly how the US reunions need to go. The hosts ask good questions. They keep everything consistent. The pacing is nice. Just do this. The level of quality was even good. The way that they filmed this was nice. The editing, the music choices. Man, am I just a Love is Blind UK fan now more than the US? I don't know. But it's getting there. I think both shows have the redeeming qualities, but UK is more so, I would say, a tier above in terms of the production value and, well, the genuine nature of the series. But I'm still looking forward to Love is Blind US. So if you don't want to miss out, again, hit the big red button below, subscribe to the channel, and that's a wrap on season 2 of Love is Blind UK. Let me know in the comments below what you think of the reunion. Who was in the right? Who was in the wrong? Who are you mad at? Who are you happiest for? I want to hear all your thoughts down below. And if you haven't, again, please make sure you turn those bell notifications on, because we got some stuff coming out this week. My review of The Long Walk. We got a live stream coming up if you're a Dragon Prince fan in 2 weeks. So there's a lot coming up. And I'm excited to just do this all with you. So thanks for helping us get to 30,000 subscribers. And I'm grateful for each and every one of you, even those of you who said I was really annoying. But you're watching, I hope. Alrighty, y'all. Well, again, thanks so much for watching. God bless you guys. And I'll catch you at the next screening. You know who we're not going to catch at the next screening? Kal and Sarover together. And someone check in, because Sarover looked like she was ready to scrap.